Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop caring so much, he suddenly starts to care more? It feels almost unfair, right? You pour your heart into a man, give him all your time, your energy, your attention, and he drifts. But the second you pull back, the second you detach, he feels it immediately. Suddenly, he's restless. Suddenly, he's calling, texting, chasing. Why does this happen? Because detachment isn't rejection, it's power. When you stop over-investing, you create a shift that triggers something deep in his psychology. Men are wired to value what feels scarce, to fight for what they fear they're losing, and to crave what isn't guaranteed. So when you reclaim your energy, he feels the ground shake beneath him. The truth is, chasing doesn't make him love you, it makes him comfortable. But detachment changes the entire dynamic. It forces him to ask questions he never asked before. Why isn't she answering right away? Why does she seem so calm without me? Who has her attention now? That curiosity turns into urgency, and that urgency becomes pursuit. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why detachment works, how to do it authentically, and how to make him restless in the best way possible. Not because you're playing games, but because you're finally stepping into your own magnetic power. Stay with me, because once you understand this, you'll never chase a man again, he'll chase you. When a man starts to feel restless after you detach, it's not just about missing your presence, it's about the shift in the balance of power between you. See, most men are used to women giving, nurturing, and pouring in effort without hesitation. That constant attention feels good at first, but over time it becomes background noise. He stops noticing it, he stops valuing it, he assumes it will always be there. But when you detach, when you no longer respond instantly, when your energy isn't orbiting around him, something primal kicks in. The human brain is wired to crave what it can't fully have, and men are no exception. Scarcity creates value. And suddenly the woman he thought was always available is no longer predictable. That unpredictability sparks his restlessness. It's also about identity. Men subconsciously tie their sense of worth to how desirable they are to a woman. When you detach, he feels that gap. He wonders, why isn't she reacting the same way? Did I lose her interest? Am I no longer enough? That internal questioning stirs a mix of ego, insecurity, and curiosity. It's in that space that restlessness grows, because he doesn't have the control he once thought he did. Another key element is novelty. When things feel too certain, the brain checks out. But detachment reintroduces novelty. You've become less predictable, and unpredictability is stimulating. It creates anticipation, it builds tension, and it makes every interaction with you feel more significant. The irony here is that your detachment isn't about manipulating him at all. It's about you choosing yourself, valuing your own energy, and no longer chasing validation. But from his perspective, that shift is magnetic. He feels the change, he senses the distance, and suddenly you're not the one chasing him anymore. He's chasing you. That's the hidden psychology. Restlessness is born from uncertainty, and uncertainty is what reignites desire. One of the biggest reasons detachment works so powerfully is because most women don't even realize how much they're over-investing in the first place. And the truth is, over-investing doesn't always look like grand gestures. It often hides in the little everyday things you do without noticing. Let's talk about some of the most common signs you're giving too much, without even realizing it. First, you find yourself initiating almost every conversation. You're the one texting first, calling first, checking in to see how his day is going. At first, it feels normal, you're just showing interest. But when it becomes a pattern, he begins to expect it. He doesn't need to put in effort, because you're carrying the emotional load of keeping the connection alive. Second, you rearrange your schedule to fit his. Maybe he calls last minute, and you drop what you're doing to meet up. Maybe you cancel plans with friends because he finally has time for you. On the surface, it looks like dedication, but what it communicates is your time isn't as valuable as his. That subtle imbalance chips away at your energy and your sense of worth. Third, you make excuses for his lack of effort. He doesn't call back. You tell yourself he's busy. He forgets something important. You brush it off. The more you overlook these behaviors, the more you silently teach him that your standards are flexible, that he can give less and still keep your attention. Another big one is overgiving emotionally. You share your thoughts, your feelings, your fears, your dreams, and you become an open book. Meanwhile, he shares very little, but you convince yourself that being vulnerable will pull him closer. The problem is, when you reveal everything too soon, there's no mystery left. You've given him the reward without requiring him to earn it. Finally, and this one stings, you prioritize him over yourself. You think about what he wants before you think about what you need. You compromise on your boundaries, your goals, even your happiness, just to make sure he's comfortable. And while you might see that as love, he experiences it as a lack of challenge. Here's the key: relationships should feel balanced. When you catch yourself putting in all the effort, pausing your own life, or lowering your standards just to keep him happy, you're overinvesting. And when you overinvest, you unknowingly train him to underinvest. The moment you notice these patterns and pull your energy back, the dynamic shifts. He starts to feel the gap, the absence of your constant attention. That's when restlessness sets in, and that's when he realizes he has to step up if he wants to keep you. When you detach, something fascinating happens inside a man's mind. His pursuit instinct switches on. This isn't magic, and it's not manipulation. It's psychology. Let's break down exactly how and why it works. Men are naturally wired to chase. From an evolutionary standpoint, pursuit has always been part of how they prove their value. Whether it was hunting, competing, or winning over a partner, men thrive on challenge. When you're fully available, always giving, always responding, he doesn't feel that challenge. He feels secure that he already has you. And security without effort often leads to complacency. Now imagine the moment you pull your energy back. You stop texting first. You don't immediately say yes to every request. You're busy, glowing, living your life. Suddenly, you've shifted from predictable to unpredictable. That shift creates a gap, a tension. And men don't like that gap. It unsettles them. His brain starts to wonder, why isn't she as focused on me? Where is her attention going? Who might she be giving her energy to instead? That curiosity grows into restlessness, and that restlessness fuels pursuit. It's also tied to scarcity. Humans, not just men, place higher value on what feels rare. When you detach, your attention becomes rare, and therefore more valuable. It's no longer guaranteed. He realizes he can't take it for granted, and suddenly, he feels compelled to work for it again. Think of it like this. If you hand someone water when they're not thirsty, they barely notice. But if you withhold it until they feel the thirst, suddenly that water is precious. Your energy works the same way. When he has endless access to it, he doesn't recognize its worth. When it's limited, he craves it. Another powerful element is ego. Men want to feel desired, wanted, chosen. When you detach, it creates a subtle question in his mind. Does she still want me? That question stirs both his pride and his heart. To quiet that discomfort, he seeks reassurance. And how does he get reassurance? By pursuing you. Here's the key. Detachment isn't about punishment, coldness, or playing games. It's about shifting the dynamic so he rediscovers what he felt in the beginning. That thrill of winning you over. That excitement of not having you fully yet. When you step back, you invite him to step forward. And when he does, the pursuit instinct reignites. He starts to call, plan, initiate, and invest. Not because you begged for it, but because his own psychology drove him back to you. That's the hidden beauty of detachment. It makes him chase, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. When you pull back your energy, a man experiences a powerful emotional shift that he often can't explain in words, but he feels it deeply. At first, he might brush it off, telling himself it's no big deal. He may even enjoy the extra space, thinking you'll come running back. But as time passes, the silence grows louder, and that's when the emotional change begins. The first feeling he experiences is confusion. He's used to your attention, your effort, your presence being a steady part of his life. When that changes, his mind goes into overdrive, asking, why isn't she texting me? Why does she seem less available? Did something shift between us? That confusion unsettles him, because it disrupts the pattern he has grown comfortable with. From confusion, he moves into insecurity. Men may act confident on the surface, but deep down, they want reassurance that they're desirable and valued. When you pull back, He can no longer lean on your constant validation. That gap forces him to question his place in your life. Does she still like me? Am I losing her to someone else? That insecurity plants a seed of urgency. Then comes curiosity mixed with anxiety. He begins to notice the absence of your energy more than he ever noticed its presence. Before, your calls or texts blended into the background. Now the lack of them feels like a spotlight. He starts wondering what you're doing, who you're with, and why you don't seem as invested anymore. That wondering quickly turns into a restless need to know. But here's where the shift gets even more interesting. As he feels that gap, he also starts to revalue you. It's human nature. We assign greater worth to what we fear losing. The more distant you become, the more precious your presence feels. What he once took for granted suddenly feels rare and valuable. He realizes that your attention, your affection, and your presence were never guaranteed. Finally, this entire process leads to motivation to act. The emotional cocktail of confusion, insecurity, curiosity, and revaluation lights a fire under him. That's when he starts reaching out more, putting in effort and trying to pull you closer. He's not just acting out of desire, he's acting out of a deep need to restore the balance and secure his place in your life again. This emotional shift is why pulling back is so powerful. It's not about ignoring him or punishing him. It's about letting him feel the absence of your energy so he can truly appreciate its value. When you stop feeding him constant validation, he begins to crave it, and that craving pushes him to pursue you again. One of the most important skills you can learn in relationships is finding that balance between warmth and distance. Detachment is powerful, yes, but if you swing too far into coldness, it can create walls instead of attraction. The magic lies in holding space for both, showing that you care without making him the center of your world. Warmth is the part of you that's nurturing, kind, open, and receptive. It's the energy that makes a man feel safe, seen, and connected to you. When you're warm, you smile easily, you listen deeply, and you respond with authenticity. Warmth doesn't mean overgiving or over-explaining. It simply means allowing your natural feminine essence to shine through without forcing it. Distance, on the other hand, is about maintaining your independence. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that your life is full, vibrant, and meaningful, whether he's in it or not. Distance shows up when you don't rush to respond to every message, when you continue prioritizing your passions, your friends, and your goals, and when you resist the urge to center your identity around him. The key is weaving the two together. Imagine giving him a taste of your warmth, laughing with him, engaging in meaningful conversation, being present in the moment, but then allowing space for him to miss you. You don't need to always be available. You don't need to prove your interest constantly. That contrast of closeness and space keeps the dynamic alive and exciting. Think of it like a dance. You lean in with openness, then lean back with self-possession. Too much warmth without distance feels clingy. Too much distance without warmth feels cold. But when you master the rhythm, you create tension. The good kind, the kind that keeps him guessing, keeps him intrigued, and keeps him pursuing. Here's a practical way to apply this. When you're with him, give him your full attention. Be present, enjoy the connection, let your feminine energy flow. But when you're apart, let him feel your absence. Don't fill every gap with messages or reassurance. Let him come toward you. This way, he experiences both the sweetness of your presence and the ache of your distance. And that contrast is what makes him restless and eager to come closer. Ultimately, the balance of warmth and distance communicates one powerful message. I care about you, but I don't need you to feel complete. That combination is magnetic because it allows him to enjoy you while always craving more. When we talk about detachment, some women worry that pulling back means losing their feminine energy. But the truth is, detachment and feminine energy aren't opposites. They work together when done correctly. Feminine energy isn't about being available 24/7 or constantly nurturing someone else's desires. It's about being magnetic, radiant, and grounded in your own life, even while creating space. Feminine energy starts with presence. When you're fully engaged in yourself, your hobbies, your passions, your friendships, that energy naturally radiates outward. You don't need to chase him or fill every silence. Your calm, confident presence signals that your life is full and meaningful, which is inherently attractive. Men sense this immediately because it shows you are self-contained and not dependent on their validation to feel whole. Another key aspect is playfulness and warmth. You can detach emotionally without shutting off joy or connection. A playful joke, a soft smile, or a casual compliment reminds him that you're approachable, kind, and alive, but it also keeps the interaction light and enticing. The mix of warmth with subtle distance creates tension, which is magnetic to men. They're drawn to the energy, not just the words. Maintaining feminine energy also involves emotional regulation. Detachment works best when it's calm, not reactive. If you pull back because you're angry, hurt, or frustrated, that creates resistance rather than attraction. True detachment comes from inner strength and choice. It's a conscious decision to reclaim your energy, not a punishment. When you operate from this space, your masculine counterpart instinctively feels drawn to your stability and grace. Body language plays a huge role as well. Simple things like keeping an open posture, light touches during conversations, and slow, confident movements amplify your magnetic presence. You don't need to overdo it. Subtlety is key. Men pick up on these cues at a subconscious level, which increases desire and intrigue without you having to say a word. Finally, feminine energy during detachment thrives on joy and self-expression. Pursue your passions, cultivate your creativity, and nurture your own happiness. When you're joyful and fulfilled, your energy becomes irresistible. He's not chasing someone who's distant out of frustration. He's chasing someone who is radiant, powerful, and magnetic, and who naturally commands attention without trying. The secret is simple. Detachment doesn't weaken feminine energy, it enhances it. By staying confident, playful, emotionally grounded, and fully engaged in your own life, you create a magnetic pull that draws him closer, even from a distance. Detachment is a powerful tool, but it's also delicate. If done incorrectly, it can backfire, making a man feel confused, disconnected, or even push him away completely. Many women think detachment is just about ignoring him or being cold, but that's not the case. True detachment is about balancing presence with absence, warmth with distance, and energy with boundaries. Let's go through some of the most common mistakes women make when detaching and how to avoid them. The first mistake is swinging too far into coldness. Some women, thinking detachment means showing zero emotion, start acting distant in a way that feels harsh. They don't respond to messages, avoid calls, or act uninterested in conversation. The problem is, men respond to energy, not just absence. When your energy becomes cold or hostile, it shuts down attraction instead of reigniting it. True detachment maintains warmth and approachability. You're creating space, not punishment. Another big mistake is over-explaining your distance. Some women feel the need to justify why they're pulling back. I just need space, or I'm not ignoring you. I'm busy. Over-explaining communicates uncertainty and sometimes guilt. It also undermines your feminine power. Detachment works best when it's natural, confident, and unspoken. Your absence alone creates curiosity. There's no need to rationalize it. A third mistake is pulling back inconsistently. One day you're detached, the next day you're giving too much attention, responding instantly, or chasing him. This inconsistency confuses him, but not in a healthy, attraction-building way. It signals unpredictability without control, which can frustrate him rather than draw him in. Consistency in your energy, not your availability, is key. He should feel that you're calm, grounded, and self-contained, regardless of whether he's reaching out or not. Another subtle error is using detachment as a tool to manipulate him. Detachment works because it highlights your independence, not because it's a game to make him feel guilty or chase you. If your energy is motivated by revenge, frustration, or punishment, it creates tension and resentment rather than desire. Authentic detachment comes from choice, empowerment, and self-respect, not from ego or fear. The fifth mistake is neglecting your own life while detaching. Pulling back isn't a free pass to hide, retreat, or become passive. The most magnetic women are those who stay engaged in their passions, goals, and friendships. Detachment is powerful only when your life is full, when you have energy, joy, and fulfillment that doesn't depend on his attention. This makes him chase you because he senses your value, not because he's desperate. Finally, many women fail to maintain warmth while distant. You can create space without losing your feminine energy, but it requires balance. Smile when you see him, engage in meaningful conversation when appropriate, and show interest without over-investing. The combination of subtle availability and confident distance creates tension that fuels attraction and makes him eager to reconnect. The takeaway here is simple. Detachment is not about coldness, punishment, inconsistency, or manipulation. It's about creating a healthy dynamic where your energy is respected, your time is valued, and your presence is magnetic. Avoid these common mistakes, and your detachment will naturally draw him closer, not push him away. By the time you reach this point in the video, you already understand the power of detachment, how pulling back your energy can create restlessness, reignite his pursuit instinct, and make him value your presence in ways he never did before. But here's the ultimate secret that most women never realize: detachment only works when it comes from authentic confidence and self-worth, not from fear, anger, or games. Many women make the mistake of detaching with the wrong energy. They do it because they're hurt, upset, or seeking revenge. That kind of detachment doesn't create attraction. It creates distance and tension that push him away. The moment you detach from a place of self-love and inner stability, something magical happens. Your energy communicates strength, independence, and magnetic femininity. He doesn't just notice your absence. He feels the power of your presence even more intensely. The final secret involves clarity of intention. Detachment works best when your focus is not on making him chase you, but on reclaiming your own energy, freedom, and peace. Your goal is not to manipulate or test him. It's to restore balance to your dynamic and ensure that your attention is given consciously, rather than out of habit or over-investment. When you operate from this place, your actions become irresistible because they're aligned with your values and confidence, not with fear or neediness. Another essential element is maintaining your feminine energy while detached. This means staying radiant, warm, and playful in the moments you do engage, without losing yourself in constant validation. You want him to feel your energy, not just hear your words. When he senses your joy, your fulfillment, and your independent life, he is naturally drawn to you. He wants to be part of that energy, not control it. Consistency is also key. Detachment works when it's measured and deliberate, not erratic. If you pull back one day and then overwhelm him with attention the next, it confuses him and undermines your efforts. The secret is to hold your boundaries calmly, respond mindfully, and let your energy flow naturally. Warm when present, absent when focusing on yourself. This creates the perfect tension that makes him restless in the healthiest, most magnetic way. Finally, the secret rests in patience and trust in the process. Detachment is not about instant results. It's about creating a dynamic where he begins to chase from desire, not desperation. The moment you stop over-investing and allow him to experience your absence while staying confident in your own worth, he is forced to step up. He begins to prioritize you, initiate contact, and show the effort that matches your value. Remember, detachment is not coldness, it's empowerment. It's not a game, it's a strategy rooted in self-respect. When you combine intentional detachment, consistent boundaries, and radiant feminine energy, you unlock a magnetic pull that no man can resist. You become unforgettable, not because you chase, but because you know your worth and live it fully. That is the true power behind making detachment work for you.